Hello everyone, this is Robert from Book of Mormon Editions, where we discuss printings, publications, and various editions of the Book of Mormon. So this video is a byproduct of a conversation I had by email from a fellow contact, and I thought it was worthy to share here. So we've previously discussed that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has printed the vast majority of available editions of the Book of Mormon. My best estimate is that some 90% of all editions of the Book of Mormon fall under the influence from the Salt Lake Church. Then there are other denominations that we've discussed that have printed their own editions of the Book of Mormon. I'll encourage that you go back through some of my previous videos and see these editions and the denominations that have published them. So there's one batch within the Restoration that we've not talked about much. And so I was asked, do polygamist adherents have a printed copy of the Book of Mormon? So I wanted to have a brief overview of this topic as we focus on all things Book of Mormon. Before I get into this, the topic of polygamy is a rabbit hole. There are so many factions, spin-off groups, and biases to these that I'm leery of doing a video on it. If you want to get more research, I'd encourage maybe the podcast from Lindsay Hansen Park, as she spent a lot of time researching both old school and modern day situations. But for now, we'll focus on the question regarding a few polygamous groups that have some interesting stories regarding the Book of Mormon. As a matter of church history, so in 1890, the Salt Lake Church, through President Wilford Woodruff, announced the end of practicing plural marriage. Over time, most of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints supported this and ended the practice. However, there were several families and groups that were disappointed with the announcement and decided to continue anyways. They eventually separated themselves from Salt Lake and became independent or fundamentalists in keeping these polygamous practices. The significant one is the FLDS organization, originating or headquartering out of Colorado City, Arizona, just off the Utah border. There's also a ranch in central Texas where members live also. Often this group is recognized by their simple clothes, with women wearing long, modest dresses and often long braided hair. You'll remember the culminating news story when church leader Warren Jeffs was sentenced to prison for the marriage of underage or unwilling girls. This sparked a controversy as the headlines lambasted him for these activities. So what about their scriptures? Recently, within the last few years, I passed through Colorado City and stopped at a municipal building where I interrupted an older lady, obviously belonging to the group. You should have seen her. She was so scared that I had interrupted her as I was a heathen Gentile confronting a member. Oh, the scandal if she would have been seen talking to me. I tried to make it quick and asked if there was a bookstore in town. She says there wasn't. I followed up by asking if the FLDS group had a publishing company or any other book printer. She said no, there was nothing available. I asked a third question, something to the lines of, where do most individuals in town get their scriptures, or at least their copies of the Book of Mormon? She answered that most individuals use the scriptures printed from the Salt Lake Church, often by going to thrift stores, as they often can get older sets. She mentioned that they use the edition consisting of the blue cover with the angel Moroni on the front, but often they use non-modern editions or whatever they can get their hands on. I thanked her, and she was relieved that I left it at that. But that's an interesting topic. Do the FLDS have their own published scriptures? The answer is no, and here's a few reasons why. First is that polygamy is such a spotlight as they focus on the teachings of current leaders like that of then Warren Jeffs, so scriptures from older times might not be as significant. The second is that the Book of Mormon is often a proselyting tool, and the FLDS group does not reach out to do missionary work to convert others. In fact, they often do the opposite and discourage others from joining them. So there you have the FLDS group in regards to their scriptures. Another different group that often comes up is the United Apostolic Brethren, often called the Allred group. This is different from the FLDS, and as a reference, the television show called Sister Wives were based off of this group. Once again, I'll refer you to do research elsewhere. However, interesting to note that the Allred group still uses the Salt Lake publications and often the up-to-date editions. The reasoning behind this is that the group thinks that Salt Lake is still good enough and has good enough principles that their scriptures are useful, but that Salt Lake has been misdirected enough for them not to be part of it. So the Alderete group is interesting as it balances between not being part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but still use their scriptures. So do any polygamist group have their own publications of the Book of Mormon? The only group I found that has a published edition is from the True and Living Church of Jesus Christ of the Saints of the Last Days. I did a video on this edition and encourage you to see that video also. This was once led by a man by the name of Jim Harmston from Manti, Utah, and only ever had a few hundred members. They published an edition in 1997, and circulation wasn't that large. So in general, polygamous groups don't have a publication of the Book of Mormon. They will often use the printings from the Salt Lake Church. They most definitely don't use it for missionary use and usually don't encourage others to join their groups. So there you have a general claim regarding polygamous factions and the editions of the Book of Mormon. Thanks for watching. I know I've scratched just the surface regarding polygamy, but I wanted to keep it focused on their use of the Book of Mormon. If you'd like to connect with me directly, or if you have a special or unique edition of the Book of Mormon that you'd like reviewed here, please contact me at bomeditions@gmail.com. Best wishes until next time.